Hello and welcome back to another week of Administration of Children's Ministry. We are excited that you are doing the class and doing a good job in your posts. And as you have found out already, we're nearing the end. And because of that, it is a backloaded course. There are several responsibilities and projects that are due here toward the end of the 7-week class. If you're watching this lecture, you should have already submitted your ministry evaluation paper, and I hope you have had some good experience with that and were able to really kind of see behind the scenes in a children's ministry. And of course, the goal for that project was to get you to, from that information, determine what you feel to be strengths and weaknesses are. There is no perfect children's ministry. There are people involved, starting with the children's pastor or children's director, and all the way down to children. So it's never going to be perfect, but we can always improve, and we can always make some adjustments. And I'm hoping that you are able to see practically in the field some of those things which you can use to enhance your future and even current children's ministry. This week, our leadership profile paper is due. It's been a good book that I hope you've enjoyed reading, and I hope you've taken some good notes and you have been able to identify the type of leader that you are based upon what you've read. And the purpose of that paper is to get you to think through that. So once again, much like with the ministry evaluation paper, you can see strengths and weaknesses in your leadership ability. There is no perfect leader, and so it's important that we see ourselves objectively. It's important that we don't sugarcoat things, and we find out what our weaknesses are so that we can work on those, and then also find people that we can collaborate with and serve with that help to complement those areas that we need to be enhanced and supplemented. Of course, that would take us to week number 7. There are reading posts and reactions each week, as you probably have figured out by now. That goes all the way up until week 7. But in week 7, we will give you a final exam, and that final exam will come exclusively from the lecture materials. And as I've mentioned over and over again, it's important that you have taken good notes. The exam that you will take that actually will probably make available maybe in the middle of week number 6, and I'll send out an announcement that'll give you a week and a half to 2 weeks to take the final exam. I think it'll be a fair final exam. Most of the final exam will be essay. I don't all sigh at the same time. I know essay takes more work, more writing or more typing in this case, but it also does give you a chance to share what you've learned as you make application to the material and interact with it. The final exam will be an open resource exam, which means that you will be able to access your notes. The flip side of that is the questions will not be just yes or no or objective and simply giving facts back to me. Just like in the discussion board post and in your papers, I'm going to want to see some interaction with the material, some application of what you've learned from these different points in our lectures, and even how you're going to apply them to your future ministry. So it'll be kind of some give and take there with open resource tests. I feel like that's a way to gauge how much you have learned. And of course, putting that in your own words is going to be key to making the material alive, so that you don't just understand a certain answer, but you're able to relate to that answer and again apply it to your current and future children's ministry. So those are some things that are coming down the pike, and I'll keep you up to date when the exam is available. And then we trust that you'll get to work on that, and it will be due right toward the end of our course structure. We'll give you that date too when I post the exam. Okay, So, without further ado, I'd like to approach really a concept today. This probably won't be a long exam, but it is very important. We've kind of built an infrastructure. We've went through each week, and I've tried to share with you what I believe are important footers and foundation toward building a healthy children's ministry. Let me just kind of share from my heart what I believe is key as you go out into the children's ministry field and administrate, and as you lead and as you pastor children. Most people feel called to children's ministry, and they feel that urge because of their magnetic drawing toward ministering to children. And I have certainly felt that. That was a part of my call many years ago, and it is still there. It is still fresh. I have a passion for serving children and for ministering to children. I could list multiple ways and multiple reasons why a children's ministry is a passion for me. And most of those reasons started with the children themselves. However, I want to share something with you today that I believe needs to be a critical ingredient of our children's ministry as we move toward administration. Relationships are key. Building relationships are key. It's important to have programming. It's important to be sharp and to be organized. It's important to be able to communicate your vision to all aspects of the people that you serve and the people that you serve with. However, being able to build a bridge toward that heart is key toward allowing the information to stick, allowing that care to be communicated. And what I want to share today is kind of a spin-off on those relationships. As you serve early in children's ministry and you have a small group of children, this isn't quite as critical, this three-pronged approach. However, the longer you're in children's ministry and the more administration and oversight that is a part of your responsibility, the more today's lecture will be key for you. I see you as the administrator. As an administrator, it's important that there are three aspects of your ministry. Number one, as I mentioned, is the kids themselves. And I don't want you to discount that, because if you don't have a passion for serving and ministering to children, stop there. God wants you to do something else. So although direct ministry to children is important, it is key, it is essential as you enter the children's ministry field, that can't be just the only dimension to your approach. You have children, you certainly have parents, and even with a small class, that's key, because those parents are key, and you need to build relationships with, support and equip those parents, building relationships with them. The third prong is your volunteers, those that you serve with, those that you produce oversight to, and it's important that we also continue to support and equip those who minister with us and minister for us, if you will. I look at it as a three-legged stool. If you have a three-legged stool, it takes all three legs working properly for there to be stability. If you sit on a three-legged stool and one leg is weak or one leg is cracked, you're in for a tumble, and you are not going to be successful sitting on that stool. And I see the same three-pronged approach that is absolutely necessary for creating a healthy children's ministry. I can't stress this enough. The longer I'm in ministry, the more I try to circumspectly always evaluate each aspect of these three ingredients. I think sometimes the kids, if our passion is there, that's going to be there. And next in line typically is our volunteers, because we want people to serve for us. We want to keep our staffing spots filled. And then, of course, much of the time, what's kind of left to get the scraps is the aspect of ministering to and building relationships with parents. That's a concept that you're going to see a question on when you get your exam. And it's going to be open-ended. I want you to wax eloquent, if you will, in sharing the importance of each of those three ingredients. Once again, ministering to children specifically, building relationships with them, ministering to, supporting and equipping parents, and then the third prong is ministering to, supporting, and communication to your volunteers. That's what today's lecture is all about. And believe it or not, I'm almost done. It's simple, it's to the point, but it is absolutely critical. I challenge you in your own administration of children's ministry responsibilities. I challenge you to even put in your calendar to constantly evaluate how much of your time you are placing on each of these three critical ingredients. If you start to fall short on your communication with and your support of your volunteers, your ministry is going to suffer. You will probably start to see it because leaders will get burnt out. They will get weary. They will get the impression that no one is there to respond to their needs and make sure that they're fed spiritually. Parents, often if they don't understand what's going on and they're not even given resources by which they can be effective parents within the home, then they also don't feel a part of this synergy. I encourage you to not just take this lecture, apply it to your exam question, and forget it, but to file this away and even put it in your calendar as a repeating entry, asking yourself proactively, how am I, as an administrator of children's ministry, achieving that balance? It takes work. It takes maintenance. It takes effort. It takes intention. And if we don't have a plan, then this synergy, this balance, which I believe works toward achieving a healthy children's ministry, will fail. And so I want you to think that through. I want you to be able to explain that thoroughly and effectively on your exam. And my prayer is that beyond what I ask of you on the exam, that you'll be able to implement these three ingredients and achieve a balance and be able to be as effective as you possibly can. Why are each of these 3 points important? Well, the easiest answer and the lowest hanging fruit is obviously kids. You can't have an effective children's ministry unless you are building relationship with children. Volunteers, you can't do this all yourself. The larger your ministry, the more you're going to have to delegate, the more you're going to have to increase your team. And keeping your team and keeping a healthy children's ministry staff is totally dependent upon the relationships that you build within those different areas of children's ministry. And the larger you get, the bigger the challenge, because the only way those different children's ministry volunteer departments can succeed and thrive is that there's a family created within the larger children's ministry. That can only happen if you're building relationships with the leaders of those particular groups, mentoring them, encouraging them to build that family and those relationships with their people. And so it's top down. It's building those relationships and modeling those so that those leaders in your children's ministry, especially if you have a larger church, can then take that, what they've learned, and then foster and grow that same type of relationship building within their own areas. And then finally, last but not least, those parents. We live in a compartmentalized society where parents are taught everything that they are taught screams, I need a specialist for my child. My spiritual responsibility is to bring my child to church for them to minister to. We need to flip that around. Parents, as we have already, I believe, in another lecture expressed to you, have 95% of the face time with these children. And even if we do all we can do and we're successful in an incredible way at church by producing direct programming to kids that literally is dynamic, it is doctrinally sound, it is engaging. The thing that we often miss is that that's a drop in the bucket in actual time compared to the time that our parents have within the home. That brings and screams the question, what are we doing to mentor, to equip and support our parents in that great amount of time that they have to teach and raise their children? I just ask yourself a question. Your ministry to children is on this side. On the other side of the scale is your relationship building and your supporting of parents. How does that compare? In most cases, the parent interaction and support is negligible, and that's what I believe our heart needs to change toward, and that is more of a balance, so that we bring our parents on board and we're all working together. In reality, we're all three working together, volunteers, leaders, and parents, to help surround these children, and love them and increase our teaching of them and our relationship building of these children. That's it. It's no deeper than that. It's so profound that it's simple. It's so simple that it's profound. And I want you to think through that, and I'd love for you to really mull that over and again be able to engage in the conversation on your exam, but more importantly, be able to implement this and constantly evaluate the effectiveness of your children's ministry. I would even argue that things that pop up, and certainly there will be things that surface, issues and problems that occur, many times they can be traced back to an imbalance in this synergy, an imbalance in these three trinity, if you will, of responsibilities that we have as children's ministry administrators. Okay? So thanks for listening, and be in tune this week, because I'll probably send you an email, an announcement, and tell you that your exam is ready to download. You can certainly print that out. Of course, the exam will be taken online and submitted online. So you can actually, if you'd like, print out the questions. Even go ahead and start typing those up and then copy and paste when you're ready to actually post your final exam. So thank you so much. Hope it was practical and helpful for you today. And we will talk to you next week as we close out with week number 7 of Administration of Children's Ministry. Take care, and please email me if you have any questions. Bye-bye.